1278. That's the number. That's the number to become the PS1 completionist. Join us as we conquer and defeat every English PS1 game known to man. Buckle up, lock in, and enjoy the ride as we make history together. Game number 10 will be Scooby-Doo and the CyberChase. Scooby-Doo and the CyberChase was released on October 2nd, 2001 for the PlayStation 1 and Game Boy Advance. It was developed by a Japanese gaming company called ArtCo.Ltd and was also published by the PlayStation 1 juggernaut THQ, whom was responsible for many PS1 and PS2 classics. Now, I really enjoyed this game as a kid, because mainly in my younger years, Scooby-Doo was one of my favorite cartoons. Shaggy, Velma, Freddy, and Daphne had my eyes glued to the TV every afternoon. Wait. Before we start, can we just... it gets me every time. When we first load up the game, we are welcomed by the nice average start screen with the jingle of the Scooby-Doo theme song being echoed throughout our ears. Shortly after, a cutscene appears when Shaggy and Scooby are in this room surrounded by 6 different screens, talking about how cool it is that they have their own video game. Talk about breaking the fourth wall.
Oops, I'm breaking the fourth wall.
The evil and terrifying Phantom Virus appears, saying that he has sent a virus throughout the video game and it's nothing that Scooby-Doo and the crew can do about it. The rest of the gang appears and Freddy receives a message from Phantom. Whoa, I didn't know texting was a thing in 2001. He states that each screen has levels that need to be defeated, and all of them have to be conquered before we can get our hands on the Phantom Virus. Velma, Freddy, and Daphne volunteer Scooby and Shaggy to be the ones to enter the levels, and they really aren't going for that. But eventually, they are persuaded with a box of Scooby snacks, and that's when our adventures would begin. Now, before I get started, I will say that I think this game got harder for me to beat the older I got. I remember as a kid doing almost speedrun-like times when it came to beating the levels, but oh my lord did I have a difficult time on some of them. Anyways, let's not get sidetracked with my old man gaming awareness, but we finally have the key to the map and we know what we have to do. We have 7 game screens we can enter, and each screen has 3 levels apiece, with the third and final level being a boss battle. The screens had to be completed in order, with the 7th and final screen being the battle with the Phantom Virus. The first screen we had to jump into was called Classic Japan. Now, the levels of Classic Japan were fairly simple and probably the easiest for what was to come. Here though, we would get introduced to the controls and shown how to fight. We had one way and one way only we could conquer enemies, and that was by throwing actual pies at them. Every level had one object that contained pies and hamburgers that Scooby and Shaggy could eat for more HP. Here on the Classic Japan levels were these red and black boxes the hamburgers and pies could be found in. This level also had some cool enemies we could attack while navigating our way to the end. It had ninjas that threw ninja stars at you, and we also came face to face with these wicked samurais. At the end of each level, to complete it fully, we have to reach the beloved box of Scooby snacks. I'm honestly thinking the only reason Shaggy and Scooby is doing this is to eat Scooby snacks. Anyways, the first boss fight we fight on level 3 of the Classic Japan level is this big red and black samurai. He honestly reminds me of the movie where Tom Cruise casts called The Last Samurai because of his armor. We have to dodge his violent fire attack and also dodge his sword spams, then we hit him with a total of 3 pies, ending his terror and grabbing the Scooby snacks. Next up, it was time to go to ancient Rome for our next set of levels, and this time it was Shaggy's turn. You remember like 2 minutes ago I said this game got harder the older I got? Well, this level took a year or so off my life. I haven't raged this hard over a PS1 game ever in my life, but I'll admit it got me. There is something about jumping platform to platform in this game that just sucked. The depth perception was just terrible. Like, a platform would look super close and you would think, okay, a single jump would be just enough. Nope. And also sometimes the input on the controller just would not work at all. I don't know, maybe once you hit 30 years old in life, depth perception and controller reflexes doesn't exist anymore. Anyways, after almost destroying my controller multiple times, we made our way through ancient Rome and found ourselves on our second boss fight, being the Lion King. This fight was honestly so cool. We had to avoid all of these spears to the face from skeletons in the crowd. We also had to avoid the lion's lunges and charges as well. But our pies were no match and he took 3 to the face. Gimme them Scooby snacks. Now we headed to the Arctic Circle, where we had to have a showdown with some polar bears. The first level was okay and slippery at times. Dang, he needs to be careful on that ice. Plus we had to avoid these falling pieces of ice and these seals throwing snowballs. But it was a piece of cake. I really liked level 2 as well, because we were in this big bobsled where we had to miss ginormous penguins that were racing down the slope beside us. We could also fall off the side of the mountain if we weren't careful. The boss fight for the Arctic Circle was the Phantom Virus, whom was riding a mother-sized polar bear. During the fight we were basically handicapped because we had 0 traction and slipping all over the place while the virus charged us at will. We narrowly escaped the wrath though, and sent him and the polar bear back to where they came from. Prehistoric Jungle was a favorite of mine too, because it seemed like we took a time machine back to the dinosaur era, because there were triceratops, raptors, and parasaurs trying to make old Scoob a meal. Big dinosaur bones fell from the sky trying to bonk us in the head, but we dodged them all successfully. These big dino eggs contained all the pies this level, and we also collected more delicious Scooby snacks. The second level on the Prehistoric Jungle was pretty difficult too, because of them terrible platform mechanics. We had to jump on these ultra thin anorexic looking alligators, and it took me 10 to 15 tries to accomplish just that. Hey, that looks like the dinosaur from Mario 64. What in the heck is he doing there? After getting the Scooby snacks, we had to fight this Jurassic Park looking purple T-Rex that dropped big boulders from the sky. This fight was relatively easy though, because when the T-Rex charged at you, it seemed like he had almost 0 turn radius and we could just jump out of the way. Imagine a world where throwing pies would injure a T-Rex. Now the big city was due up, and this was a simple level too. We start out on the first level riding a skateboard down a bunch of roads while avoiding loads of obstacles. We fell one time, but after that it was super simple. Level 2 got a little bit hard though, because we had to avoid these laser beams, and some of them seemed impossible to miss. We got a tease of the Phantom Virus in this level too, because he is here throwing these purple lightning bolts at us. We then have to avoid all these steel grates by jumping over them while riding a conveyor belt, but we took care of business. The boss fight for the big city was rough though, because it was this big robot that would drop bombs right on top of our heads trying to blow us up. A steel wall would also fall down, making it hard to throw pies at his direction, but after a few tries, the robot was destroyed. The second to last screen was Ancient Egypt, and just like the Ancient Rome levels, I about lost my cool. The platform on these levels were just as bad as the other ones, where it seemed like I was falling to my demise for absolutely no reason. The mobs on this level were super cool though, being these weird bats and pharaohs with staffs. We avoided the flame traps, got the Scooby snacks, and made our way to the second to last boss fight, being Mini Phantom Virus riding a camel this time, instead of a polar bear. Mini Phantom Virus was hiding behind this electric wall, and we had to defeat his puppet mummies and push them off the edge as they tried to attack us. Once the mummies were defeated, we had our chance to throw the pies at the virus, and that's what we did. The final level was called the Amusement Park, and surprisingly being the last level, it was not that tough. We had to rush our way past these big bunny rabbits that tried throwing carrots at us, and also had to fight these big clowns that were floating on big balls. The second level had a huge maze we had to navigate through, and we had to jump on these catapults that launched us across large bodies of water and large ravines. We did all of these things, and it was finally time to face the evil Phantom boss himself. The fight starts, and we notice a bunch of Matrix-looking designs floating all around the screen, mimicking a virus. Phantom takes his figure 8 path while lunging at you from time to time, and it can be hard to defend. He also spawns strikes of lightning to rain down on you, but it's pretty simple to avoid. He then spawns into 3 separate beings, and you have to basically get lucky and choose the right one to throw a pie at, which we did. For his final attack, he turns his hand into the sword-like structure and tries to stab you. We avoid this attack with ease and toss our final pie at him, ending his reign of terror, and we bring him back to the gang, back at the headquarters. We get back, and the Phantom Virus says he never expected us to be so good. He then says, but this game is not over. Daphne and Freddy, on the other hand, say it is over, and use the software trap, ending the virus once and for all. The gang is happy as ever, and the credits begin to roll. Now, let's get to the ratings. Enjoyment. Overall, I enjoyed this game to the max, especially since this was one of my all-time favorites as a kid. It was fun going back in time to all the levels I used to love, but I still stand by what I say when I said it got harder as I got older. Overall, I'll give enjoyment a B+. Map design. Now I feel map design was done extremely well. Everything had a theme and made sense. If you're a fan of this channel, you guys already know that's a big thing for me. All the mobs were appropriate in the levels, like the mummies in the Egypt level and the clowns in the Amusement Park level. Also, the bobsled level and the maze level were creative in my mind, so map design gets a A-flat. Game mechanics. We all know where this is going. The platform jumping for this game was god-awful. I mean terrible. And I'll knock it down to a C just for that reason. Shaggy was really slow as a character as well. I honestly couldn't tell if I was playing with Shaggy or an old grandma. But the camera was surprisingly okay for this game, so I'll give game mechanics a C-. Overall, this game gets a B-flat grade with an 86 out of 100 on the game meter. The map design and enjoyment were A1, and the game mechanics was the only issue I thought the game had. Well, that's all for this one. Be sure to like and subscribe, and remember, stay classy with the classics.